Hello everybody, welcome back to another video for the day. Now we're going back into r/MaliciousCompliance because you just gotta love karma. Now before we get right into everything, be sure to like the video, comment down below during the video if you see something you would like to talk about, and afterwards consider subscribing to the channel and becoming part of the amazing notification squad. Let's go! A colleague's way to deal with excessive number of roll calls. Not sure which subreddit fits in the best, so advice should be appreciated. TLDR at the end. Background. In certain countries, there is a mandatory military service requirement, and I happen to be a citizen in one such country. However, in my country, you don't necessarily end up in active duty, as there are multiple ways other than being physically unable to do so. There are certain criteria for that. To end up in what's called a substitute military service, people doing substitute military service basically work a public servant job, except that unless they are a substitute military service because of family circumstances, they are required to live in a government-provided lodging. I am currently serving substitute military service, and this is one of my colleagues' tales. Roll calls. So because we're technically doing military service, there are laws that govern us. We also have faculty-based rules that govern us. Between the two sets of rules, this ends up being the case. If Monday is a work day, there are roll calls: 1 Sunday at 9 p.m., 2 Monday at 6:30 a.m., and 3 Monday at 8 a.m. We're also forbidden to leave the facility between 9 p.m. and 6:30 a.m. 1 and 2 are done by the on-duty officer, whereas 3 is performed by our HR supervisor. Now, the 2 roll call is not always done. Some officers don't think, and I think, whereas our HR supervisor, who can and is sometimes the on-duty officer, probably doesn't want to do that many himself in a short span, again, I think. We have previously requested to the management that if it is possible to eliminate the 2 roll call altogether, and we are told that the 2 and 3 roll calls serve different purposes. The 3 roll call is more likely us clocking in, whereas the 2 roll call is to ensure that we didn't do anything stupid during the night, so they will not eliminate the 2 roll call. Time off policy. Because of what my facility does, we are always required to have someone on site among the people doing substitute military service, even during off-work times. We do 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. So if we were to work a specific weekend, we could then get 2 days accrued as vacation days, which we then ask to take off. The same thing is true if we get called to work nights or overtime, though those are usually given in 30-minute increments. We then ask for time off signed off by our supervisor according to which division we are under. Now, the policy is written that if a person would take the morning off, they are only to report at 1 p.m. / if a person would take the afternoon off, they are able to depart at noon, as noon to 1 p.m. is assumed to be our lunch break. The first part translates into, if I take the morning off, I skip all 3 roll calls as I am on vacation until 1 p.m. The MC, my colleague who is renting a place with his girlfriend relatively close by because she is a student at a nearby college, decides that since there are just too many roll calls, he would just spread his vacation days off into 1 or 2 hour blocks. For instance, he's taking 8 to 10 a.m. off Monday through Thursday this week. By doing this, he claims that because he's on vacation until 9 or 10 a.m. each day, he rightfully doesn't have to participate in any roll calls. He's turning 8 hours of vacation into way more than that to spend time with his girlfriend. TLDR, because my facility rightfully rejected our request to reduce the number of roll calls each day, my colleague decides to skip all of them, which he has the vacation time. Small victory, but victory nonetheless. That's just being clever with this system, I'm not gonna lie, and unfortunately they're probably gonna have to change the policy for the vacation times after that. Don't sue, we'll let you come onto our property to fix your sewer line. The house I grew up in was built on the side of a hill. Great views, but the geography posed some challenges for the city utilities, sewage in particular. Their solution was to put all the houses on the hill in what was called a shared line. Essentially, one big pipe ran through all of our backyards just below the house's basements. Effluent would flow from the houses into a shared pipe and then down the hill to the city sewer line by the bottommost house. When we moved in, we were at the highest point that it was possible to build on and still be part of the shared sewer line. But a few years later, someone bought a lot just over the crest of the hill and linked up to ours without being part of the planned community that had an HOA that took care of the sewer line, amongst other things. And in fact, they did so without the HOA's approval. And so for the next 2 decades, my family would be the subject of near constant harassment over the state of the sewer. Their end of the line was lower than ours by just enough that it would stop flowing and clog, often backed up into their basement bathroom and shower. They'd accuse us of diverting our effluent to the line, because I guess we were some kind of plumbing wizards. Now, the reason nobody built a house on that part of the hill during the original development was that the soil was unstable, something hydrology related. Sure enough, over the years, that house would occasionally separate from the hill and slide down a couple of inches, but our our neighbors had connections in the code enforcement agencies, so the place never got condemned like it should be. They just had to shore it up and reconnect all the utilities. The thing is, the further down the house moved, the steeper the negative incline was on their sewer connection to our junction box, making the clogs and backups even worse. At one point, it got so bad that their sewer barely flowed. Some days, it got completely clogged. Somehow, this was our fault. They spent the next year calling us every time they tried to flush a toilet and stuff came out of their downstairs shower. They called a plumber who said that they had to redo their part of the shared line, and to do it, they'd have to bust through our 2-story masonry wall so they could get to a backhoe onto our property and dig out the line. Of course, we had issues with this. We said, no, you will not come into our property and tear it up with this big-ass piece of construction equipment. Hire human laborers or something. But instead, they hired lawyers who started slinging paper around. According to them, we were in violation of state law that specifically gave an implied easement granting a homeowner access through another's property to maintain their own. So we hired lawyers of our own who said that we basically had a choice. We could win the case, but pay tons of money, or let it happen. Either way, we'd be screwed. But they pointed out one important fact, that 20-year-old masonry wall wasn't the greatest of shape anyway, so a few months later, we presented them with a bill for $75,000 for the rebuilding of the wall, installation of a new set of stairs, replacement for the entire wrought iron fence that had separated the two properties, resodding, replacement of ornamental plants and shrubs, and some minor repairs to our sewer, which they had borked up while relaying their pipes. I'm not a general contractor, but my guess is that they could have hired a pick and shovel labor to dig out that pipe and replace it with a new one for a fraction of the price, but no, they had to have a giant Caterpillar tread machine do it. They balked, but then we handed them the Xerox copy of the letter that their lawyers had sent us with the pursuant of paragraph blah blah of the common code of blah blah blah, citing the next paragraph which stated that the person using the easement was 100% responsible for any damage that might be caused. They still balked, but my parents put a lien on their property and stayed there on the day they tried to sell, at which point they had to pay up or the purchaser's creditors would underwrite the mortgage. I think they had to pay interest too, but I'm not 100% sure about that. TLDR, neighbors built their house to connect to our shared sewer line. House sagged down the hill, the sewer broke, and the house filled with crap. They hired lawyers to enforce my dad to let them destroy our wall and backyard while repairing their sewer. Our lawyers told us to let them go right ahead with it, and then we presented them with a bill for $75,000 to fix our yard. Got a brand new masonry wall essentially for free. This whole thing could have really been avoided by the phrase work smarter, not harder, but that's not what this is in the subreddit for. Take advantage of the dumb and get stuff for free. In a way, you kinda could see this as the Tom Sawyer scenario with the paint picket fence. Then again, that might just be how I see it. Go to our manager when you screw up? Sure thing. So I used to work with this guy. Let's call him Billy. At first, Billy was an okay guy when we started and was getting trained up. Billy became very, very bad at the job he was doing. He only had about a month's training in the position before he left, and when he came back, he refused any further attempts to train him. He figured that since he was with us for 3 months, that his training period was over, even though 2 of the 3 months were in another department. He was big into one-man upsmanship and lied through his teeth to seem cooler than other people at anything. Example, one of my coworkers was big at CSGO, so Billy said he was a professional at CSGO and played in tournaments. So he was asked his CSGO rank and he gave some bullcrap answer like Diamond. This attitude bled into his job where he pretended he knew what he was doing when he clearly did not. On to the good old MC. Billy screwed up. A customer had an issue that Billy handled while he was the only one there and he did not do it right and inconvenienced the customer for later when the customer called me. Not a huge deal, but caused by a lack of following procedure from good old Billy Boy. I fixed it and have proof that it was him and shoot him an email as I worked nights to his days and never saw him, reminding him that he needs to make sure to do it properly from now on. His response via email, "I did it right. Who do you think you are telling me what to do? If you think I did something wrong, then you need to go to our manager. Don't come to me about it. You're not my boss." A, I do have every right to point out your mistakes, Mr. Trainee. B, I do have every right to tell you what to do while you're in training. I am your boss for all intents and purposes. You have been in my department for a total of a month and a half to my 2 years. I know what I'm doing far more than you. If I tell you did something wrong, trust me, you did it wrong. See, tell your boss, oh, you got it. So begins my quest. I don't even have to try hard to find things that Billy screwed up. Constantly failing to fill out information in a critical log? Check. Failing to follow procedure and screwing over customers? Check. Failing to do something that we are required by our contract and our client to do? Check. So every day my manager gets an email about him and all of his screw-ups I find. After about a week, my manager takes me aside before I leave and asks me why I'm emailing her and not helping to train him by pointing out his mistakes. So I show her Billy's email showing that he is refusing help and inform her that everyone else is getting the same attitude from him. He got written up for unprofessional behavior and one more for failing to follow our procedures. He was told he needed to improve quickly, and he did not improve quickly, and before he could be fired, he quit claiming he had a better job, and we never heard from him again. We don't even have a hard job. Sure, it's a little procedure heavy, but it's a desk job where you answer a few phone calls and radio calls. He had no college education and had kids to support. This job was about the best he could hope to find in his city. You gotta just really love it when the trash takes itself out. But with that, that is going to have to be it for the video. If you had liked what you had seen, be sure to like the video, comment down below what you liked about the video, and if you have not already, subscribe to the channel, become part of the amazing notification squad, and check out the Discord in the description box down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.